Hey folks, this is Kelani. Welcome back to the Battle of Dazar'alor raid guides for normal and heroic. This time we'll be taking down High Tinker Mekkatorque. This encounter is fairly straightforward, but it can get pretty hectic if you start to get behind on the mechanics, especially the ads. The first thing you'll need to worry about is electroshock strikes. Each of Mekkatorque's melee attacks inflict additional nature damage, and he will gain stacks of amplification every time he hits the same target, which increases the damage of electroshock strikes. So you just need to tank swap. Try to keep these stacks low. You can swap around 4 to 8 stacks depending on your tanks, but your tanks will also have various other abilities to deal with, which may force a tank swap early or late. The boss will also use Buster Cannon. He faces a random direction and winds up a huge cannon blast. The projectile itself is very fast, so make sure you move if he turns to face you. If you get hit by the blast, you'll take a large amount of damage and get a really nasty damage over time debuff. If you get hit by this while other stuff is going on, you're probably going to die, so just keep an eye on where the boss is facing. He will also periodically use heavy thrusters. A small AoE circle will appear at the boss's location, and another larger circle will appear on a random player. He'll blast off, dealing damage in the smaller AoE circle first, so the melee need to make sure they move out of it, and then land in the larger circle, which also deals a bunch of damage. Standing in either of these circles will kill you very quickly. And then we have Gigavolt Charge. Several players will get a bomb debuff which deals damage over time and explodes after 15 seconds. When it explodes, anyone within line of sight of the bombed player will gain a stack of Gigavolt Blast, which deals a lot of damage over time. To avoid spreading these nasty dots to your raid, the bomb player needs to get out of line of sight of the raid. There's 3 locations in the encounter space where you can do this very easily. Just make sure you're behind one of these rocks, preferably different rocks to the other bombs when the debuff expires. You'll also have to deal with the Spark Bot ads which are called in throughout the fight. These bots take 99% reduced damage and will happily wander around the area using Spark Pulse. A blue AoE will appear around the bots, and if you stand in that AoE you'll get stunned and take a bit of damage. The bots will also fire out random volleys which deals damage to your raid, so the more bots you have up, the more damage your raid will be taking. You can push them and grip them and root them, so being able to push these bots out to the side and root them whenever possible is very handy because it gives your raid some breathing room, but you're going to have to deal with them eventually. The only way to get rid of these ads is to hop in them while you are shrunk. The boss will cast World Enlarger, which will shrink several raid members. If you get shrunk, you need to hop into a bot and punch in the correct code. But there's a catch. You can't see the correct code of the bot you're currently in. On normal mode, everyone else in the raid can see your code. It flashes above your head of your bot, so they need to tell you which colours to press in the correct order. When you get 3 colours correct, your buttons will turn into a detonate ability, which will blow up the ad. On heroic mode, only people in other bots can see your colour. We had 3 bots at a time, so one person called the other 2 bots colours so they could do theirs first, and before they hit their detonate button, they told the last person what their code was. It worked out really well for us, and we usually cleared all 3 bots every time we got the World Enlarger ability. If you ever try to enter the wrong code in a bot, you'll get kicked out, stunned, and take a huge amount of damage. Just make sure you're calling the right colours for the right bots. We used a weak aura, which spammed your name above your head while in a bot, so you could very easily match up names and colours. I'll link that in the description below. On heroic mode, the bots will also gain a stacking movement speed increase, and they can get really fast, so just be sure to clear them out as often as you can. You need to be very careful when players are shrunk though, because if a full-sized player runs over a shrunk player, they'll deal a massive amount of damage to them and stun them. Don't step on your raid members if you want to kill the boss. Whenever you're shrunk, you will also deal 99% reduced damage, so there's no point really trying to do anything except disarm a bot if you're a DPS. It's worth noting that tanks can get the bomb debuffs and they can be shrunk, so at that point you'll need to tank swap or hold the boss a bit longer than usual. In heroic mode, the boss will have one other ability, Wormhole Generator. He'll mark a random player with a little beacon and then teleport your entire raid to the beacon's location. This can happen while people are shrunk, so just let the shrunk people move out first. This can also happen during heavy thrusters, so be sure to move out quickly, and this can even happen when you have the bomb debuffs, so those guys need to move out as quickly as possible, and the guy with the beacon should try and position themselves in the middle of the room just to give everybody an equal distance to run to cover. When you get this boss to 40% health, he will fly up into the air and be more or less immune to damage. This phase lasts for 50 seconds and isn't too bad to deal with. You'll still have to deal with the Gigavolt bomb debuffs, so move those out appropriately, and the boss will shrink a lot more players with World Enlarger. Those are the only 2 abilities you have from the other phase. More people shrunk means you should be able to clear out any remaining Spark bots fairly easily, but that also means there's a much higher chance of you stepping on people. Just be careful and spread out as best you can. The boss will also drop exploding sheep in the encounter area, which, surprise surprise, will explode after a short delay and send fire in all directions. Just dodge the fire as best you can. When the boss comes back down, he'll land with heavy thrusters, so be careful of that, but he will also gain hyperdrive. This increases his attack speed by 30% and causes him to deal damage to random raid members periodically. Add that in with everything else and you're looking at a lot of raid damage for the last 40% of this boss. In this last phase, the boss will use all of his abilities from phase 1, and continue to drop those exploding sheep onto your raid. You should still disable the spark bots as often as you can, dodge the fire, and make sure you rotate healing cooldowns to keep everyone alive. We saved Lust for this phase just to try and get through it faster, and that's all you should need to take down High Tinker Mekkatorque on Normal and Heroic. Stay tuned for more boss guides to help you conquer the Battle of Dazar'alor. A big thank you to all of our supporters over on Patreon. You can see their names floating by on screen. If you want to join these lovely guys and gals, you can find a link in the description below. Remember to leave a like just below the video before you leave, and if you want to see more, make sure to subscribe. But apart from that, thanks for watching folks, good luck and have fun, and as always I will see you next time.